Hello and welcome back from the meditation.
Oh, beautiful. So good to see you. Hi.
You too. So tell me about your experience with the meditation. We just did the 20-minute changing boxes.
Okay, so first big shout out to anybody who's watching when you do meditation, and you might be sitting in your garden and there might be children playing on the street. You are getting really challenged and you might do your best, but you might realize you still need to do the meditation in a silent room. So that was my experience. Um, I couldn't go all the way in there. And I actually would like to hear rather about yours because I've been trying to do changing boxes so many times at this point. And actually, it was the same thing I've been trying to call in over and over again. Still has manifested. So maybe you do have a master key.
No, I mean, I feel like that I feel the same way that I've been calling in the same thing in that it hasn't manifested yet. And I'm sure a lot of people are having that experience. And and so I just see it's something that it's an affirmation I just keep telling myself that makes me feel better. I just say, well, I guess I have to keep going then. I guess I have to keep getting better. Like rather than going down the rabbit hole of like, is this working? Am I doing this
Hmm.
right? Is it,
Hmm.
like, is this a bunch of crap? Just whatever, just I believe in this process. I absolutely
Hmm.
believe in this process. I believe that it's all about energy. And I believe that this world that we see it is an illusion. I've already decided that. I believe that for years. And so therefore the only explanation is that I need to get better. Like I need to get better at changing my vibration at will. And that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm dedicating my life to.
Very interesting point. I would like to rephrase it. It's not about getting better at changing one's vibration as much getting better at consciously aligning your vibration with whatever experience you want to call in. Because it's not about being better at words, but just like being capable of consciously aligning with a precise frequency. And to me, it actually feels like when I also think about the changing boxes meditations that I do, the point where I'm actually feeling a little bit stuck is okay, it actually starts with focusing on the nothing.
Yes.
Because I think that there's this aspect when the ego mind is trying to focus on the nothing, which is like so not working ultimately, because the ego mind should be completely out of the game. So maybe you can later on share some insights from your Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat on how to actually leave the ego right here and leave free from the ego, because that could help me, for example, to tap into the nothingness. And the second aspect is when it's about calling in the future that I do want, sometimes I feel that my mind is still thinking like, what do I want? How does it feel? How does it look like? And I have this notion that's completely wrong. It should not be a thought. It should be the emotion.
Yeah, it's a
It should be the
feeling.
emotion of having it. So
Mm-hmm.
this is where I feel there's two points that might go wrong. For example, with me, where it's like I'm thinking instead of feeling it. And the second aspect is of maybe I'm trying to manifest something I'm actually not wanting. Because I have this feeling there that changing boxes is sometimes not working because we do think we want something. But when we would go into how would the experience feel, we might have the resistance. We might not even fully go into how does it feel having it because subconsciously we don't want it. Because it might be just super simple example. If you might, for example, like to call in a massive amount of money, you might subconsciously be scared of having it because like, okay, no, like all your problems literally disappear. And I think there's an aspect where we might emotionally not have allowed ourselves to go there. So to me, it feels changing boxes is sometimes just showing us that maybe we want something with our mind that is not what we truly want with our heart.
That can definitely be an aspect of it. What I think that this is something that has to be worked on outside of the meditation, something that needs to be clarified outside of the meditation. What exactly is it that you want? And you can get into your analytical mind and you can think of the details and you can I mean I'm a person who just makes like a page full of list of like every single aspect of everything that I
Yeah.
want but at the end of the day, what matters, what you're going for is the way that it makes you feel. And so
Mm.
you have to understand that because that level of detachment is so essential to be able to align with the vibration. So you have to, you can go through the process of listing every single thing that you want, getting really, really clear, but you understand that the feeling that all of those things give you is what you're actually going for. So you get clear on the feeling, and it's the feeling that you're trying to tune into in the meditation. So for example, I want more money. I want my career to be established. I want to fix up my house. I want to have freedom in my finances. And so the what I have boiled it down to is this visual of me being on my back porch that is not built yet.
Mm.
And in my back porch would look out on my land, and I'm sitting on the step on my back porch, and I can feel the wood underneath my hands, and I'm just feeling so grateful. Like I did it. I did it. I knew I could do it, and I'm here and I did it. And just that feeling. And whether or not I get that feeling on the back porch or living in another state or whatever it is, it doesn't really matter what the details are that got me there. I want that feeling of just feeling at peace and in balance, and to have the pride and the just that sense of worthiness. That's what I'm going for. So and it's the feeling that you feel in your chest that's going to attract the circumstances. Does that help?
That makes perfect sense. And it leads me to the one question. Maybe, like, did you discover a tool during the retreat that helped people to literally align with the emotion we do want to feel?
I don't, not that I can think of that he like specifically gave a process for aligning with the feeling. Um, I've just always done it the
Okay,
way that I
interesting.
just explained, like it's work that you do outside of the meditation, and you pinpoint that feeling, and the more you
Okay, I
practice
think I
the
need to be a bit
feeling.
more specific because I think I'm just asking this question for all the people who get too much caught up in the mind. Because yes, I've done like 100 lists, 100 different times already, and it came from the mind. And this is, do you feel the breaking point already is coming from the mind, assuming it'll make me feel good instead of feeling the emotion of how good it feels. So I would really like to drill it down a little bit because I hope that we can find something that actually works. So
Hmm.
considering that you said there was not a specific practice that you just that Dr. Joe shared during the retreat, when you think of the meditation and the practices that you actually have done, which one put you most into the emotion of the desired state?
That I feel like that so much depends on my mood and how much my heart is open. So I think that that when people, because to me, like if I'm relaxed enough, all I have to do is think about the details, and the feeling is right there in my heart. Like the feeling is really easy to get just by thinking about the details. And then but I think that for some people their energy is so caught up in their head
And
that
the
they're
heart is so
connected.
close. Okay, did you have a specific practice to open up the heart, maybe? Because that might be, maybe that might help.
Just the simplest thing that you can do is focus on your heart in meditation. And there are several Dr. Joe meditations that will focus on that for you. So like center of the magnet is one of them. And then Botec nine, no, not nine, Botec 10.
Four.
Botec 10 is blessings from the heart. And so that whole thing is like connecting your heart to all of your other energy centers, and like but really with a lot of focus on the heart.
Mhm.
So in any meditation, just if you're in silent meditation or just listening to music, all you have to do is just put your focus on the center of your chest, and like the same way that someone would put their focus on their pineal gland or on their third eye
Mhm.
as they are meditating. Instead, you put it on your heart, and you can do it throughout the day. You can just tune in to what it feels like in the middle of your chest. So that's the simplest thing. Just focus on your heart. The other ways that I have found is just to like physically like do physical work where you're like stretching and also stretching your back because your heart chakra is in your back also, and just to like stretch all of those muscles and imagine that you are like opening up space in your heart center. And then the other way is to feel love for whoever
Mm,
and whatever. So just to focus on the feeling of love. So it could be
okay.
appreciation for the littlest things, or it could be like if there's a certain person who inspires love in your heart, a certain memory that inspires love in your heart, whatever it is, the more you feel love, the more your heart will open. So those are three simple exercises to open up your heart. Focus on your heart, physically make space in your heart, and focus on the feeling of love, however it is that you can conjure it up. And then if your heart space is open, then it becomes easier to conjure up any emotion. And
Yeah.
and so, so to me, the details, just thinking about the details of what I want brings that feeling into my heart, and I just know that that like exactly what manifests and how it manifests is not really important. What's important is getting that feeling. And that's the whole thing that Dr. Joe talks about. Is like you get the feeling now before it manifests. Like that is the thing that that you have to become a master of, is getting the feeling before it manifests, like really, really feeling it. Because if you can really feel it, then your nervous system responds and you're actually like
Creating
releasing
a
the
blueprint
hormones.
out in the field, also like also creating already the blueprint out in the field. They
Yes,
already
yes, and
exist.
you're
And
physically changing your body to convince your body
mhm.
that it is in a different environment.
I just find it so hilarious when I think about this conversation, how much our ego is standing in our own way. And I'm just saying hello
Yes,
to any other ego, as well as the heart, which is being so scared to even love or to open up, with a heart which is
yes,
like, I'm even scared to allow this experience to feel the experience, because ultimately, subconsciously, I would be scared that I wouldn't get it, because it's all fear based. Whenever we do not go all the way towards emotions, like I'm scared I'm not gonna get it. So I'm scared if I feel emotion now, I'm gonna miss it even more, because this is like so interesting. But I think we're just gonna skip it for today. This is just like, I think that's the point. It's overcoming the ego and allowing to feel the emotion that we do want to feel, and allowing
yeah.
to open up the heart again to love, and not listening to I'm scared to love. Not scared to
Mhm.
love a person, or not even scared to love an experience that I do want to love to experience. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, I
So,
remember talking to a guy I was dating, and he was negative. Not the guy we were just talking about, a different guy. And he was, yeah, I guess that's been a pattern with me, like negative men. But so he just had a habit of complaining a lot. And so I suggested to him, instead of always talking about what he doesn't want, all the things
mm,
that he's manifested in his life that he doesn't want, to talk about what he does want and to think
yeah.
about what he does want. And his very first answer was like, but then I would have to feel the feeling of not having it. And that was, and complaining about not having it felt so much better than
Wow.
thinking about like just that feeling of wanting it, and
Wow.
knowing that you don't have it. Like that is like that's what he was afraid of. And I was like, that is so interesting. I think a lot of people are afraid of that.
That is so interesting. We could have an entire podcast on this, but how about we finally go to a topic I've been like so curious to learn more about, which is your first ever Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat in person, a full week long. So, Queen, without having, because I didn't want to be spoiled. Like I literally did not listen to your daily recaps, so you're gonna get
Yes.
a fresh meat over here. Can I just ask you, your 7 days, what has been the most incredible experience, memory, moments that you had throughout these 7 days.
So what I like as far as what I experienced at the retreat.
Well, what's the other option?
Yeah, well, because I've had amazing moments after the retreat. Like there's been an
Mm,
aftermath. But
okay,
let's
so
talk
we're
about
gonna
the
start
retreat.
with the retreat. We start with the retreat, and then we continue with the most amazing moments post retreat. How
Yeah,
about that?
okay. Okay. So the one that always stands out in my mind, the one that pops into my mind, it was the first walking meditation. And and it gave me the like the two realizations that I think that spirit wanted me to know. Like it was like the reason why I was there. Like my main
Mhm.
messages. So I'll just kind of tell you the story, and then I'll get to what the messages were. So when the walking meditations start really early, like right when the sun is coming up, and so it was like 6 a.m. and
Mhm.
they give you like a 30-minute window to show up because it's 1900 people all having to meet at a place outside at a single location outside. So they give you 30 minutes to get everybody in there, and I came at the tail end of the 30 minutes. So I came up to this crowd of almost 2000 people on a street that they had boarded off, or they had like sectioned it off so that cars couldn't drive down, and they were all lined up on the street as the sun was coming up. And there's this thing that happens when people meditate together, whether it's a small group or a big group, where we all come into heart coherence with each other, where we feel like a sea of the same animal. And it's that the principle of emergence that Dr. Joe talks about. The like when a school of fish are all swimming together, when a herd of cows are all running together, or when a flock of birds is all like turning at the same moment. They are in alignment. They're in perfect alignment with each other. They're in perfect heart coherence with each other. And so we had at that point we had been meditating together for 3 days, and to walk up on a crowd of that size and to feel so at one with everyone there blew my mind. It was like a sea of peace across 2000 people, people standing shoulder to shoulder, nobody talking loud, nobody acting uncomfortable, nobody in their head messing with their stuff, just stillness across 2000 people with the sun coming up. And I was like overwhelmed with love. And I've just never in my life felt safe with that many people. I mean, that's just unreal to think of. Like in any other time that I was in a crowd of that many people, I'm thinking like football game, rock concert, there's always just this chaos, with a big crowd, there's just this chaos and this like just kind of high energy, lots of static, lots of like you don't know what you're going to see. This was just like peace. It was just there's a whole sea of love and peace, and that just blew my mind. So just to have that feeling of safety in a large crowd like that is what we are we're wired for. That we are wired to feel safe within a tribe, and in our cultures we have separated from that, and where we are all just going in different directions, and so dependent on ourselves and just on our we might have a feeling of heart coherence within our little unit, a little group of friends or a small family, but we don't
But if
have
I'm
that.
honest, even there's so much distortion due to like just thinking about the impulses we get through media and news and anyway informed, there's so much distortion in the nervous system of practically 90% of every single person. And that's even in friendships and family. I find it so distortive energy wise. So just coming back to this, I find the level of peace that you had is beyond 90 to 99%, I think, of most any circle that most people experience in the West. So
Yes.
please go on. It's very beautiful,
Yes.
very, very
Yes.
beautiful.
So that was my first important lesson of the retreat. Like the thing that
Mm.
I know that I was meant to learn, that I am safe in the world, that there are people who are like me, and that
Mm.
I don't have to be on guard. And it's just a matter of being at peace and attracting other people into my experience who are also at peace. You know, like that's the only thing that's been missing. So I was just feeling like just so overwhelmed just by being present there in the crowd. And so with the walking meditation, you start with a like standing meditation with your eyes closed. And so I had my eyes closed for a little while, and it's like maybe 15-20 minutes of standing there with your eyes closed. And then the I noticed that everybody in front of me just disappeared, and like they all just like walked off at the same time. And there's a point in the meditation where you do start walking, and everybody started the meditation at different times because we're all listening to it on our phones with our own headphones. And so so our minutes are like slightly off. So I was thinking like, oh, is it about to be time to start walking? And then I realized that they all disappeared because a sprinkler came on, and it was like a sprinkler came on right in front of me. And then but one guy stayed, and he just let himself be sprayed by the sprinkler. And and I thought that was so funny. Like I was trying so hard not to laugh out loud. And in just joy that welled up in my body trying to suppress that laughter was like overwhelming. And so very shortly after that, I started walking, and I couldn't stop dancing. Like when I was walking, I just went straight into dancing walking. Like I was like so filled with joy. So as I was walking through the street, I was seeing all of these people. Like people are just having Kundalini awakenings left and right. People are having like just energy running through their body that's making their whole body vibrate. People are like hitting their pineal gland during the walking meditation, and in like losing consciousness. It's like just weirdness, just the whole like a whole street of people just being as weird as they possibly can, standing outside with the blindfolds on, and but it's all okay. Like it's all like you know why they're there, you know what they're doing. They're free to be as weird as they need to be. Then
To be
they're
as natural as they actually
Yes.
are.
And then there was a guy he was crying and wailing and moaning so loud that you could hear it all the way down the street. It was so loud. And it was like him letting go like that gave other people permission to let go. And there were so many tears. Just so it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. So I was just in such bliss, just walking through this, this whole thing. And it's so overwhelmed with love. And at some point in that walk, I had the realization that I am perfect and that my whole life has been perfect, that every single moment that I've experienced has led me to where I am right now. And I couldn't be where I am right now if it wasn't for all of the things that I didn't want happening, and all of the tragedy and all of the grief and all of the trauma. Like I couldn't be where I am right now in this moment of peace and bliss and understanding if I hadn't had all of those experiences. And all of those experiences happened to me on purpose. Like it was like part of my path. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a sign of things going wrong. And it was, you hear people saying things like that. I've felt that before. Even, I've had those thoughts and feelings before in meditation. But this was like next level clarity, like so sure, more sure than I've ever been. Like, oh my gosh, everything is not only okay, everything is wonderful, everything is perfect, you know? And so that was the other lesson. That's the other lesson that I feel like that's why I had to go to the retreat. I had to see that and feel that at a greater level than I ever have. And the thing with like feeling safe in the world, that's another thing I've worked on a lot and that I've felt at new levels over and over again. But the way it felt at the retreat was so much more clear and so much more intense. So that's, and I just carried those feelings with me throughout the rest of the retreat. Like I was just seeing everything through like, I am safe in the world. Everything is perfect. I am
Mm.
perfect.
That story, like, I'm just hugging you for you being you, for having like having chosen your path, that you had this experience, and thank you for sharing this. Like, I just had goosebumps listening to you, and like the entire energy, or just at least a fractile of it, was conveyed. And this is so, so potent. And I think also so empowering in these times when we feel like there's not peace, to remind ourselves we do have the full capacity in the present moment to actually come together and create peace. Like, to know it is possible. It's not lost, it is absolutely possible. And how you shared like this steep realization and gnosis of everything needed to happen for you to be in that present moment with that deep gnosis of bliss and gratitude is so beautiful. Like, really, thank you so much for sharing this. And it reminded me of this entire concept of these soul contracts, where we logically we come into this life also saying like, I'm going to sign up to a tragedy I'm going through. It's so beautiful to hear from your point where you've already had the epiphany in the present moment. You're like, yeah, I probably get why I did it, because it
Hmm.
actually led me to this beautiful moment that I also signed up to experience in this life.
Yeah.
This moment I also decided to come and witness and to experience and to, wow, thank you. That is so powerful. Wow. I could imagine you've had a lot of incredible meetings and encounters with people and conversations. How how was that for you? Like, just briefly share about like what are the conversations you have with people, like random people, like how incredible does it feel to connect on this level with practically anybody that you truly connect with?
Well, at the retreat, it was so next level because with all of that meditation, I just felt so tuned in to my heart. And I've always let my heart guide me. I've been practicing
Mm-hmm.
asking my heart yes or no for 20
Mm-hmm.
years. And so but applying it at the retreat, just like, what am I going to do during the break? Should I go over here? Should I go over here? Should I go eat lunch now, or should I go to the restroom first? I mean, just like I would just follow my heart. And even though I was there with friends, I intentionally separated from them during the breaks, because I wanted to follow my own heart. I didn't want to just be attached to the people that I already knew. And I've always been such a shy person and not someone who tries to meet strangers. And so this is a new experience for me to like intentionally try to meet strangers. And so when I would go into the banquet room to eat, they're like, you eat with your color group, like you're divided into six different color groups so that you're in a group of like 200 instead of in a group of 1900.
2000.
And so uh so we were all together in the same banquet room. So I would go into our banquet room, and there are three different places where you can get food. And so I would ask my heart, which one should I go to, and what should I eat, and just like following my heart the whole time. And then now, where should I sit? And I was just so tuned in with my heart. It was like I was having a conversation with it, and my heart would say like, okay, go right, go left, keep going, you're almost there. And then I would sit in an empty chair. And uh and the people I met by doing that were just amazing. It was like every time we struck up a conversation that was like exactly what they needed to hear, exactly what I needed to hear. And most of the time we exchanged contact information by the end of it. And because they were in the same place, they were in the same place of heart openness and just curiosity and excitement. And uh and there's one woman in particular who I met, who my heart led me to sit next to her twice, and led me
Mm-hmm.
sit next to her roommate three times. And
Okay.
so it was like, and I was like, you again? And I had already told them that I was asking my heart, and I was like, why does my heart want me to sit next to you again? and but one woman, she's an energy healer, and we have been in contact ever since. And we've been I did a spirit reading for her. She did energy work for me, and she's gonna do another session for me, and I'm gonna do another session for her. And we've just like been friends ever since.
That is so beautiful. Oh, just enjoy these contacts and this alignment. I love it. Okay. I'm gonna continue straight away with the next question because I know we're gonna have a bit of a more concise episode, and I want to ask you a question that I guess everybody who is a Dr. Joe Dispenza fan or just very intrigued by him will love. So, because Queen actually shared prior to our conversation that Dr. Joe Dispenza must be one of the most incredible human beings walking this planet today, simply because of the stories that he shared. And I remember how you said, well, I kind of wonder how incredible he truly is. If we think these are just the stories that he publicly shares, what is he keeping in his closet back over there? So, Queen, please just inspire us. Please share one story that Dr. Joe shared during the retreat that you were like, okay, I'm just blown away. Which is one you want to give away and share with the community?
That I was trying to think of ones that I haven't heard anywhere
You can have
else.
two away or three. That's completely fine by me.
Well, I noticed that he shares a lot of the same stories, and if you binge on the podcast and all of his interviews, you can hear some of the same stories over and over. And so that's what got me thinking, like this is like six different stories, and he's had a lifetime of this stuff. So like what else, what else has happened? So I can first, before I talk about how incredible he is, I want to send the message that he always says. He always says, "Don't make this about me. This is about you." And it's really true. Like he's very, very humble. He's not about like I'm this magical person with all of these powers. Like he very much does not want to have that air or give that message. But just to witness him, it's hard to feel any other way. And as much love and awe as I feel for him, I still realize that like this isn't about him. I'm not worshiping him. I'm worshiping the God within me. And that's what he teaches us. And in this way that we come into coherence with each other, and we're all like just on board with exactly what's going on. Nobody has to make us do that. It's like we're all internally driven to do that. And I think that when there's a cult situation, that there is this oppressive power coming down on the people and telling them you have to dress alike, you have to do all of these things, you're not allowed to step outside of these lines. But this is not like that. This is how you listen to yourself. This is how you listen to your true heart. And when people are all doing that at the same time, they automatically come into coherence. They automatically want to fall in line and not cause disturbances. And so that's what he teaches us. So yes, I do believe that he's a what they call a living master, that he is a advanced soul that has come here to show us the way to heaven on earth. And that's what Jesus Christ was. And that's what so many other teachers have done for people. They have shown them through prayer, through meditation, through changing their mind, through learning how to find heaven on earth, and how to just come come more into alignment with love, with the feeling of love. And so yes, that is definitely his life's purpose. I have never seen anyone function on this level. Like, it's 10-hour days. One day was a 17-hour day. And in these 10-hour days, like you can't believe that you have the energy to keep going, but you do have moments of just feeling kind of exhausted. And like by the time you get back to your hotel room, you're like, oh my gosh, I've never been this tired in my life. And then you're thinking like, wait a second, he's the one who's up on stage this whole time. Like he's putting in these hours up on stage. And then afterwards he's having meetings. He meets with the like anyone 24 or younger who is at the retreat. He meets with them. I think he has 3 different meetings with them. And he, because it's like he calls them the youth, and because he wants to reach out to the youth who are in this work, because he knows that their brains are so malleable. So he's taking time with them. When he's doing instruction, there's a whole audio visual team that's running the slides. If one slide is off, he doesn't miss a beat. He was like, "Can you put up that one that we talked about instead?" And so that means that he's having meetings with the audio visual team to plan all of this ahead of time. And of course, they've been doing these retreats for 10 years, and they've done like over 50 of them now. And so they definitely have all of their kinks worked out. But he's bringing new information in every single retreat. And there are points where he's repeating things that he's repeated hundreds of times before, and then there are points where he's just straight up channeling, and you can feel it, like he's channeling new information in the moment and bringing it to you in the moment. So this is a man who is just so tapped in, just a level of intelligence. I think that it's a past life thing, where he's done this many lifetimes before, and he is just so expert at being this humble teacher, channeling this incredible wisdom, this incredible timeless wisdom that we all need. So the stories that I just want to preface the stories with that is never seeing a human in my life before functioning on this level and having this kind of.
I just super briefly, what I found so interesting regarding when you talk about how he's functioning, you already feel it's not the functionality of a human being. You practically, I've just listened to this. I'm like, he functions that well and he's that radiant because he's allowing something to happen through him.
Yes,
This is, I
yes,
think, why people are attracted to him. It's the light, it is the love, it is the divine that they see. And it's this thing that makes them, the very thing that makes them being pulled towards his wisdom, which is the same thing that actually makes him capable of being so high functional. So that was the one thing I really wanted to add because it's like that's that's superhuman. That is
yes.
when
It's
you open yourself
supernatural.
up to be the vessel for the greater to come through. Okay, so please, there we go. So regarding a story, the first story that you wanted to share, which one are you most intrigued to share?
So he tells the story of when he learned to leave his body. This is the story that he'll share on podcasts. And it took a few tries, like where he would feel himself leave his body, and then just as soon as he felt like he was out of his body, he would be right back in there.
Mhm.
And so it's just like getting to that mental space where he could stay out of his body and see what happens next. And it's a really entertaining story. There was one point where he ended up like in between 2 cucumbers in the fridge, like in the refrigerator. Like he like somehow snapped himself into the refrigerator when he left his body, and ended up in between 2 cucumbers. Like that's funny. And uh and so so he so he'll tell that story, but the part that he leaves off at the end, you have to buy the progressive workshop to hear it. And then he'll tell even more details at the retreat. But once he got good at leaving his body, he left his body and popped into another lifetime. And he said that he lived an entire lifetime in that body. Like he was living as another person in a time in the past. He was a stagecoach driver, and he was driving around people of influence, people of like great success and influence, and talking to them. And he lived in that body, went to sleep in that body, woke up in that body, lived an entire lifetime as that man.
Wow.
And then when that lifetime was over, he popped back into Joe Dispenza's body 15 minutes after he had left it.
Okay, how wow. how long did it take him to be at that level of leaving his body and consciously popping into and living through another lifetime?
Well, I think that this happened kind of early in his
Mm,
journey. It was before he started
mm,
doing the retreats, so it
okay.
was probably 20 years ago. And,
Wow.
so maybe he was like late 30s, early 40s when it happened.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Did he share any other of his past lifetimes by any chance?
No, no, that's the only like that I know of, the only like other lifetime, past lifetime. I have heard him say a couple of times that he believes that he was persecuted in a past life for teaching, for like that
Mm,
he was a spiritual teacher in the past and that he was
mm,
persecuted. And that in this lifetime that he's navigating his way through that to keep himself from being persecuted.
mm,
And so, so like a lot of people, he may have been killed for, for
mm, mm.
teaching the truth.
Yeah.
And with past lifetimes, I always say this, like there's no way to prove it, of course. There's no way to prove that it really happened or that it was real. But when those messages come to us with such clarity, whether they're coming through a psychic
Mm,
or coming to us in meditation, it always has a message in it about what you need to know in your lifetime right now, in your current lifetime. So it
yeah.
always applies. And that's the important thing to pay attention to with those past life stories. And with him, it really, because of the science, we've talked about this before, because of the science, he's protected. The science is protecting him. If he was just getting people to pop out of wheelchairs and getting people to cure stage 4 cancer without the science to back it up, then he would be silenced. He would be silenced. I really do believe he would be silenced in whatever way that people could silence him. But he has lit such a fire in so many hundreds of thousands of people that they can't put out that fire. They can. And he's got all of the science to back up what it is that's happening to these people when they go into meditation.
So true, so true. And it makes me remember that prior, you said some of the most powerful moments you've had also started post the retreat. So, Queen, how would you like to share some of the experiences? Maybe let's start with the most interesting or most potent one that you had coming back into your normal life after the retreat.
Well, this fits perfectly with the changing boxes meditation that we just did. So he made a changing boxes walking meditation, and it's an
Mhm.
hour and 20 minutes. Have you listened to it? Have you had a chance to do it?
I've seen it, but I haven't done it so far.
Okay. Well, I would highly recommend it. There's an introduction, it's like a 20 or 30-minute introduction that comes with the meditation. And you can tell he is answering people's questions because
Mm,
changing boxes really confuses people. And so he's like answering people's questions like, this is what's going on. This is what you need to visualize. So he really, really goes into detail in that introduction.
mm,
And I before the retreat even happened, I did a podcast on, not a podcast, I did a video on the blackness, like how to disappear into the blackness. And so you should watch that because you said that you don't understand like how to focus on nothing, like it's difficult to focus on nothing. And in that video that's called the blackness, I like go into tools to tune into the blackness and exactly like to help people understand how it is that the blackness feels. And so I was clear on that before the retreat, but there's a way that he explained changing boxes that really clicked with me. And I've been thinking about it. I've been taking notes. This information came from so many different places, but I'm kind of synthesizing it into my personal explanation. So so if you imagine, this is the changing boxes part, not the disappearing into the blackness part. But the
mm,
disappearing into the blackness is very important because it's detaching from
mm,
all the stories, detaching from your identity. Just you just like it's like this blankness. It's like you kind of make yourself an energetic blank slate when you disappear into the blackness. And then and then the way that he explained it, so you know how like you have a mirror here and a mirror here, like if you're in a dressing room
Mhm.
and there are two mirrors across from each other, and how there are infinite visions of you standing in between those two mirrors, right? And that is just something like that's just the nature of reality. You put two mirrors across from each other, and that's what you're going to see. And that is like literally the way that the different boxes are arranged. It's like a
Mhm.
grid where every box has
Mhm.
a slightly different vibration. And
Mhm.
then, and this is the part that I put into it to help me make sense of it. I was thinking, well, what if there's not only a mirror here and here, but also a mirror here and here, and a mirror above me, and a mirror below me, and a mirror diagonal over here, and diagonal over here, and here and here,
Mhm.
and there's like that many infinite realities, that many different directions, that many different possibilities all blending together. And then I imagine that I'm just standing there and those different boxes are like spinning and like shifting to where my vibration
Mhm.
is. So I just close my eyes and I just let the boxes shift
Mhm.
wherever they need to shift, whether it's this one that needs to come down or up, or this one needs to come down or
Mhm.
up, or this one needs to go left or right, whatever it is, I just let them shift to wherever they
Mhm.
have to go so that I'm in the reality where this feeling that that I have matches. This feeling that I have in my heart matches. And your heart is so much a magnet. Like people say that, but it is like
Mhm.
so literally a magnet. It has this electromagnetic field. The more you tune into it, the stronger and bigger that electromagnetic field becomes. But he says in the Changing Boxes Walking Meditation, he said, your heart is your bond. And you hear that too, it's like your bond, your promise, but it's literally a magnet that is bonding the cells of your body together. Like all the atoms of your body, they're staying together like they are because your heart is alive. Your heart has a magnetic force that keeps all of the atoms of your body in place, vibrating together. Is that amazing?
You know, I just want to share this thought. Might seem like so just pops up. It's so interesting. You know what it makes me think about? It's like when you, for example, have more weight than you would like to carry on your body.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of the importance of that we are literally attached to the habit that is keeping us in the state.
Yes.
And 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 when you talk about like when you talk about our the, the heart is keeping our body together, to me, it kind of meant when I'm dropping weight, which I would like to let go of, for example, then I am literally detaching from the narratives, from the emotions, from the beliefs that created the habit that created the physical form. Like it's literally as if I'm saying my magnet is no longer attached to that specific narrative. So it's like so interesting. Like I don't know, like it made so much sense to also realize it's the heart which is now detaching from the stories of the pain that we've had. And by being detached from them, we can even shed, like as a result, we shed the layers even of the body. Because by detaching from the narrative, we changed our habits, the action, and at the end of the day, our body. That was something that just popped up, was like, that is so interesting. And it makes so much sense to me.
Yes. Yeah. And
Wow.
all of those emotions, all of those vibrations that are inside of your heart, they're matching all of the atoms that make up your
Mm,
body. And so
mm,
when you change the energy that's in your heart, you change the energy that's in the atoms. And
mm,
it you change, and then you change the way the energy in your field so that it feels different to other people to be around you. Like you have a totally
mm,
different vibe when you change that, what's in your magnet. So that magnet is influencing every single atom, and
mm.
then all of the electricity that is around your body. It's influencing all of that. And it can change in an instant. It can change in an instant. And that's something that I realized in the retreat, and that I need to make a video on, that just that we're constantly influencing the energy with our feelings, with our thoughts and our feelings. We are constantly influencing it. And it's actually something that can be measured. It can be measured.
Mm.
It can be seen in visual terms. Um, in one of my videos, I talked about heart coherence,
Mhm.
and when your heart is in coherence, the science of cymatics, like where sound
Mhm.
is measured visually, and it could be
Oh,
sand, grains of sand on a metal plate, and a certain sound frequency is sent through that metal plate, and it makes the sand arrange into different patterns. And then they also put water on top of a speaker, and the
mhm.
vibrations from the speaker will make certain patterns in the water. So when a heart is in coherence, when it's in a calm, coherent state, and all parts of it are in connection with each other, and it's in connection with the brain, the patterns that it makes looks like mandalas. Like it makes this like
Mhm.
beautiful mandala pattern. And we're literally sending those vibrations out into our field and out into the universe. And the entire universe is connected. It's all connected energetically. And so it's not like we're just sending it out into the 3 or 4 feet that are around our bodies. We're sending it out into the entire quantum field. And like we're sending out these, like when our hearts are in coherence, we're sending out these beautiful mandala patterns out into the universe, literally.
One thing, talking about the heart and magnetizing the experience to us makes me think of is a question regarding the changing boxes. There's one part where Dr. Jones says, draw your body to you.
Yes.
And I'm utterly confused, actually, because I realized I thought I've created the emotion state I want to be in. So I was like, am I drawing, like, now I'm here, where's my body? Like, do you know what I mean? Like this moment of who am I that I'm still drawing my body to me because now my body's here with me. So how does that actually work? Like, in which body am I? I mean, I have no body at that point in time, but which body am I drawing to me if I think it's already me? Please enlighten me.
So yeah, it's complicated, and that's part of what makes changing boxes so confusing. So I want to get better at explaining it. Like I think about it a lot because I
Mhm.
want to get better at explaining it. So I will, in the future, I will explain it even better than this. But basically, like it's the concept, like how every atom is 99.99% space.
Empty
And
space.
and so what we are seeing, what our visual capacity is able to see, is just an illusion. We are seeing light reflected off of matter. And
Mhm.
so the idea that our bodies are this solid thing is just an illusion. It feels that way to the senses, like we have these nerve endings that sense temperature, and our eyes, the way our
Mhm.
eyes see it, and the way that we sense it, like just with our regular 3D senses, it appears that we are solid, but we actually are not. We're constantly changing. And
Mhm.
so the magnet of your heart will keep the atoms of your body somewhat around you, but you're actually, like, if we could actually see it with our eyes, we're more like a little puff. We're not a solid entity. We're like a little
Mhm.
puff of atoms
Mhm.
that are all magnetized to and those atoms are constantly changing with every drink of water, with every meal that we eat,
Mhm.
with every change in emotion. Those atoms are constantly changing. The information in those atoms is constantly changing. So we are like so much more ephemeral, so much more like not existing in this 3D reality than we think that we are. That's just an illusion. So, so
Malleable.
and so keeping that in mind, if you are going to a different location in frequency and in vibration by feeling something different in your heart, and also if you are dissolving into the blackness, then your cells are becoming, or the atoms of your body are becoming looser. Like they're becoming looser. It's easier for them to change. They're less stagnant. They're more active. And so I visualize that, all of those mirrors are shifting however they need to shift.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now in whatever box I need to be in so that I can experience this reality that I'm imagining and feel this
Yeah.
feeling on a more, like in a more 3D level, like I'll have the evidence around me that match with this feeling. And so I just imagine like, okay, now I'm in a new place and now my body needs to come to me.
So, so you are pulling the body in which you started the meditation to you. That is the correct order, right? That's the
Yes.
point.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
are the new body. So now you're not calling the new body to you. You are like, old body, beginning of the meditation, come to me. This is who
Yes.
we are
Yes.
now. Okay.
Yes, yes, it's the same. Well, it's the same body, but then you also understand that you have changed that body in the course of the meditation. You have also changed that body. So, in so many of his meditations, he says, "Come back to me to a new body in a new time." And
Mm.
so you have changed your body in the course of that meditation.
I have one question I need to ask. Like, how much thinking is actually happening throughout the meditation? Maybe like by default, asking all these questions, it's already completely wrong because maybe it should be so natural and intuitive that when he says like draw your body to you, I should be so much connected with the quantum that the only thing I could automatically do would be pulling the beginning. Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I
Well,
mean? Maybe
well,
like,
he's obviously a fan of learning and talking. He's obviously a fan of that. Like that is definitely part of his, it's part of his path, it's part of the
mm,
formula that you have to learn about this stuff. And when you learn about it, then you can apply it
yeah,
so much more powerfully. So to me, this conversation that we're having here is part of the
okay.
work. It's part of the work. It's part of helping our analytical mind surrender to the process, because like to trust and surrender to the process. And so that's what we're doing here. In just like anything, when you practice it enough, then it becomes innate. So you can study art in school and you can learn all of the techniques, all of the mediums, all of the history. You can practice the exercises over and over, but eventually with enough knowledge, you get to that point where you can just make your mind go blank and create a masterpiece. So that's what we're getting to. We're getting to that point where we can go into meditation and just totally surrender, and it's effortless and beautiful, and you don't have to think about it at all. But to me, this is part of the process.
Thank you so much for giving the mind peace of mind. That's okay. That's asking all these questions. So a new question that I personally had, but it's a personal one for you because you touched on is all about the practice of it and knowing that you have been doing his meditations for months prior to attending the retreat. How has your meditation practice and your ability to meditate changed through the retreat? How like what is the main change that you even has had as a takeaway with your daily practice now that you went through the retreat compared to just doing it at home by yourself?
It is there is a new familiarity with my true heart. Like I feel like I tuned in to my true
Mm.
essence and really like who I am and what it feels
Who
like to
are
be
you?
me at
Who are
a
you?
I'm you. I'm you. I'm the same as you. I'm the same. Like we're all the same. We're all one.
Hmm.
So so I feel like I tuned into that feeling more
Mm.
powerfully than I ever have. And
Mm.
it's like having a new person in my life almost,
Mm.
like it's like when you meet someone and fall in love with them and there's this
Oh,
energy,
goodness.
this energy that you feel from them, and all you have to do is think about them and you get that feeling in your heart. It's like that, but it's me, it's like it's the true me. And I don't feel it 100% of the time, but I can tune into it. And I'm like, oh,
Mm.
yeah, there it is again. There it is. And so I felt it stronger than ever when I did that changing boxes walking meditation. So it was a few weeks after the retreat. And and that's when I had the realization that the heart is a magnet and it is the bond that's keeping all of our atoms together. And that all I have to do is change my vibration, and that all of these boxes will shift effortlessly around me. So that was my big realization, like my biggest moment. And the feeling that I am drawing it all to me through that feeling, just right in the core of my chest, like right there in the middle. And I mean, like, I could do a whole podcast on just what the heart is. Like, the heart is so incredible, the heart center is so incredible. It's the bridge between the higher chakras and the lower chakras. It's like it's life. It's where the center of life is. When you die, your heart stops beating. It's like it is so magical. It is so magical. And so that's why, like, really, you just have to tune into that. Just keep feeling your heart, keep talking to your heart, keep asking your heart what it wants. And
You should create a program on this because I think this is literally what so many of us, I'm just gonna assume, need. How to reopen up the heart. How
yes.
to reopen up the heart. Let go of
Hmm.
the fear, open up the heart. And what's
Yes.
so fascinating, like you just start to bring all of the loose ends together because they're like in consciousness spirituality, there's a saying, it's all about love. We're just here to love. We're just here to love the experience, to love the other person. It's all about love. Also listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza testimonials, everybody talks about it's just about love. It's the heart orgasm. It's just about love. And you just made it so clear by explaining it is even the love that is creating the experience. It's even the heart which is creating the experience, which is pulling it together, which is like a
Hmm.
next level of the understanding. It's not like, oh, it's just about love, but literally your love is even magnetizing
Yes.
your own
And
body to you.
the only thing that is keeping everything that you want away is the
Mm-hmm.
blocks that you have created.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally an armoring that is around the
Yeah.
heart. And so that's
And
why,
that's the course you should create.
yes, yes.
I'm going to be your first testimonial.
I
Oh,
know, I know. I already have all these ideas for creating a second chakra course. So I guess I'll do the heart chakra course next. So but literally you can do somatic work. You can do breathing, and you can like work on the muscles. You can massage all the muscles in here and feel all of that tension. And just when you release it, you see how, like, you have, like, literally created this armor around your heart. Every
mm-hmm.
time your feelings were hurt, every time you didn't feel safe with someone, every time things didn't work
Yeah.
out, that you create a literal armor. It's an energetic armor, and it's actually a tightness, that's around the heart.
You know what I found so interesting? If we would just have a intellectual conversation about what is spirituality, I could pass the test pretty well. But then you come to the real stuff, and spirituality at the end of the day is the practice of love. It's a practice of service. And so it's so interesting to even acknowledge that if you, I also really feel like, especially if you might have been raised in the West, we've been so conditioned to live through the mind and from the mind, to perceive the world as dangerous, that we
Hmm.
all started to close our hearts so much and trying to logic, to reason through logic. And it's so interesting that even if you might have been like me on a conscious journey for so long already, you still have the armor, I still have the armor around it. And that you're
Yes.
capable, like you're already intrigued by all the freedom, all the love, all the experience, but still practically you still had not let go fully, not fully
Yes.
let go of the armor. So it's very humbling to acknowledge this and also to humbly acknowledge it is actually not about listening to 2,000 podcasts and books and audiobooks. It's a simple practice of daring to release the armor around the heart so that the heart
Hmm.
can be open again. Would you
Yes.
maybe, because this comes back to a personal question to you, because I have that feeling that your process of opening up the heart is further advanced already. Would you like to share? Maybe you've had a specific moment, like had there been a moment on your journey where you felt dispersed, a moment of massive release, and relief and openness. And what did it take? Like, what happened in the moment that this release happened? Like, what was it? Like, what was the letting go? What was the impulse that happened prior that allowed the heart openness that you then experienced?
Well, this is an interesting story, and I have a video about it on my channel. It's called "The Most Intense Energy Work Ever." So,
Oh, epic title.
yes, because it was the most intense energy work ever.
Wow.
So it was when I started going to the gym. It was about this past November, so it was like
Mm,
11 months ago, and 10 or 11 months ago, and I started going to therapy and started going to the gym at the same time. And so I was talking about past trauma, talking about my problems, so like verbally ventilating all of this energy that had been stuck in my body. And every therapy session was nothing but me talking and me crying, and the therapist looking at me and nodding, and that was just exactly what I needed. So I was in that process. And then when you start to tune into your body and like really trying to look better, it's like it's really a decision to connect, a decision to be like, let yourself be
mm,
seen and to feel good about being seen. And when I started going to the gym, I noticed how I hadn't been in a situation like that with people in a while, where I was like close to people, crossing paths with people over and over again, kind of having that feeling like everybody's looking at me and I don't want them to be looking at me, just like it was. I just realized that I was a little bit uncomfortable. And I was like, you know what? That's the old me. That's not me anymore. I'm going to like consciously open up my heart every
mm,
time I come to the gym. So I would go to therapy and then go to the gym. And I was
mm,
saying, every time I would pass someone, I would say in my head, the light in me honors the light in you. My heart is open to you. Rather than just like, is he looking at me? What's I would, just whatever, like, what's up with her? Just all the little thoughts that you have in your head. I would just silence all of those and I'd just say, my heart is open to you. And so I was practicing that. And then as I was working out, with every repetition, I would breathe into my heart and imagine that my heart was opening. So I
mm,
was like really, really working
mm,
on it, really working on, and just coming to a higher level of consciousness, where I realized like I haven't been like that. I haven't been like that, my whole life. I've been guarded my whole life, and I'm ready to let go of that. So I had been doing that for a couple of weeks, and really intensely for about 3 days. And and then one night I was going to bed. I had had a great night. I was in a great mood. And just as I was laying down to sleep, all of a sudden I had this excruciating pain in my shoulder. It was in my left shoulder. And it was like debilitating pain. I didn't even understand what was going on. I just like sat up and just started panicking. I was like, oh my God, what is it? And the only way I could get the pain to release was like to lift up my arm. And I was
mhm.
just like, what's happening? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. It hurt so bad. It was like a muscle spasm kind of thing. I didn't know. It was like an hour and a half of having
Oh,
this pain, in trying to logically think, okay, what do I need? I
mm,
need electrolytes.
mm,
I need, I was thinking that maybe I pulled a muscle at the gym, maybe I tore
mhm.
something. And so, it's like, okay, I'm thinking of it as a cramp. What do I need to get rid of cramp? So I'm like drinking apple
Did
cider
you ask the
vinegar.
pain? Did you ask the pain, what are you?
Eventually, yes, this was an hour and a half process. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I had to like get through the panic, the panic of the pain.
Next time, message me. I'm gonna have the right answer for the next pain that you're gonna get. Ask it. What are you?
So I eventually did get to that point. Like,
Hmm.
okay, this is energy. There's
Yeah.
something going on. So when I
Mm,
talked to that pain, there was a girl's voice, a young girl's
mm,
voice, and she was crying and freaking out, and she was saying, it's going to happen again, it's going to happen again. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was like
mm,
terrifying, this terrified voice. And it
mm.
was my voice, like it was my voice as a young girl. So I had to, at that point, the pain had subsided a little, like where I could like think and breathe a little bit. So what it was is, when I was 12, I think, when I was 12 years old, my little sister and I went to the pool in my dad's apartment, and it was at night, and my dad was gone to the bar, and a man uh, befriended us and gave us wine coolers and got us drunk. And he exposed himself to my little sister, and I mean he molested her, and it didn't happen to me, it happened to her, and I've always thought of that as a story that happened to her. But just think, if that happened to you and your little sister when you're 12 years old, how guarded you would feel, like how just how afraid you would feel in the
Yeah.
world. And just the way that my dad dealt with it was not cool. And like there was no adult in our life coming to us and explaining what happened and explained that like we actually didn't do anything wrong. So there was this guilt also because I accepted the
Mm.
wine coolers,
Mhm.
and so in that was a
Mhm.
cage around my heart my
Mhm.
entire life. And that was releasing, that energy was releasing when I decided. So no wonder I didn't feel open to the world. And that girl inside of me was so afraid that it was going to happen again, if I opened up my heart to the world. As soon as I had that conversation and realized what it was, the pain just started lessening and lessening. It was still there, but it was going less and less. And so I started rewriting the story in my head of
Mm.
what happened. And I talked to her like the adult that wasn't there. And I just told her, like, this is a really, really sick man that did this, and it wasn't your fault, but it's happened to many, many people before. And just to remind this girl that her body is her own dominion, and that she can have healthy boundaries, and she can see the signs that someone is dangerous. And
Mhm.
just I just had the conversation with her. It's like a
Mhm.
loving parent, and explained
Mhm.
everything that happened to her. And just the more I would rewrite that story, I imagine in my head that it was my aunt coming to us at the time, because she lived in the same town, and she's passed on now. But I just imagine her coming to us and explaining all of this. And I just felt the pain coming less and less and less, and by the next morning it was 100% gone. Like I had no after effects from that extreme excruciating pain where I thought that I tore a muscle.
Fucking energy work. The body keeps the score. Well, babe,
Yes.
that's
Oh,
an
you
example.
bet it
What if I,
does.
like, first and foremost, like, I'm so happy for you that you had the experience of releasing and that you even learned how you're capable of releasing when things happen. Like, you can go back into the past and that you can do all this healing. And I find it actually quite surprising. I would have not expected such a story to be kept with somebody for so many years.
Yeah.
So it kind of is daunting in terms of how many memories are actually around still within us, because I would have expected it to be something much more, I don't know, like much more severe that we would keep with us for decades. So it's like a reminder of how gentle we actually are,
Mm-hmm.
and that we get to acknowledge whatever has happened is valid, and that there might be many more
Mm-hmm.
layers that we
Yes.
have not even considered consciously. Or can I ask you, out of curiosity, how often have you been thinking back to that encounter? I don't know, like throughout the year or throughout. Have you been thinking back to that
Like
encounter
since
yourself?
since it happened 10 months ago.
Yeah. No, no, no,
Um,
no. Prior to that,
well,
I'm
prior
actually
to that,
curious.
yeah, I think that's a great question, because I think that it's the same for a lot of people. It will like it would I don't I might probably go for 2 years at a time without even thinking of it one single time, because for the most part it was suppressed. But then
Yeah.
occasionally something would remind me of it, probably hearing about child molestation, like on the news.
Mm,
Or I don't watch the news, but like whatever, like something would make me think of it. And and once again I would think of it as something that happened to my sister, just like that's really sad that that happened to her. It didn't feel like it happened to me. And and so I just never really thought much more about it.
mm,
And it's funny how like, things happen, but life goes on, and you don't really think that it's that big of a deal. It just doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. And there are things that have happened to me in the past that I've gone in more deeply, and I've really, really made myself feel it, and I've uncovered things, and I've just like gone deep into the shadows to shed light on things. But for that one, it never even occurred to me to do it. It never even crossed my mind that I needed shadow work on that. It was something that released spontaneously,
Mm.
and I didn't even put it together. And it is so interesting because it was such an early experience, and it was such a extreme armor that it's like my nervous system wasn't ready to look at it. My nervous system didn't want to look at it yet. Like I had depended on that armor for a really long time. And I was perfectly fine living that way until I wasn't, until I started to like really think like, wait a second, my heart is blocked. I'm not comfortable with people. I'm not open with people. I'm finally realizing that. But I didn't know it was because of that.
Your story is such a strong and beautiful reminder of all we need to do. It's as simple as it's hard, but as simple as do the work and trust when you have your intention of opening your heart, it'll show itself. It'll come to the light in the perfect way at the perfect time when you're ready.
Yeah.
So this is like very, very beautiful. And I would like to ask you, how does your heart feel today? Like, how do you feel different? Like, what difference do you feel in your heart? Do you literally feel different in your heart? Is
Yeah,
it
yeah, there are physical sensations that are
okay?
different. They when I have a really positive feeling, it radiates so
Oh,
effortlessly through
oh,
my whole body. Like I can just feel it in my hands and feet all the way up to the top of my head.
oh.
Yeah, it's like strong energy running through my body. And that feeling, that new feeling, it's like so comforting. It's just, and it actually feels like like how God felt to me when I was a little girl going to church, and we would pray and in Sunday school, and like my first experiences of just being told like God loves you and God is there to protect you. And when I would fall
Mm.
asleep at night and just imagine that God was protecting me, it feels just like that. And it was in meditation that I was reminded of how it feels the same.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for
even
sharing.
even with all of these beautiful experiences, I'll still like I almost had a panic attack yesterday. Like I was getting ready for the art class that I was teaching, and it was just too much to do at the last minute. And I was like realizing that I couldn't have two things playing out of my phone at the same time, and I was going to have to find a different device to run through these speakers, and people were going to be showing up in 5 minutes, and I could feel my heart starting to beat and starting to get all flush, like I was about to have a panic attack. And I was like, okay. And I actually got a really sharp pain in my shoulder. So I went to the bathroom and had to calm myself down. So like this illusion is
Mm.
so convincing, and these patterns in our brain and in our nervous system are so just established that the energy will run through those old paths so effortlessly unless we consciously just keep coming back to our hearts. And so that's what I had to do. I had to talk to the little girl inside of me who was freaking out,
Mm.
and but I've gotten pretty good at it. And I was able to make that pain go away in about a minute and a half. And by the
Oopsie.
time the did your light go out?
Indeed. We just used every single last inch of this battery of the light. Let me
Well,
see
you're still
whether.
filming, so that's good, and I can still hear your voice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's actually so what oh, because the light is from the lettering, so to speak, and that's still the camera running. Let me see whether my notebook can help us out. Otherwise, I just go inside. And I have that strong notion that we talked way longer than 30 minutes
Yeah,
for a
we
super
did.
quick episode. Well,
Yeah.
what a surprise. No, really, nope.
No, no. Yeah, I had a feeling it might be difficult to keep it to 30 minutes, especially with the way it's not like we have a timeline that we're following, or like a list of topics. We're just letting it flow and trusting ourselves.
Okay. Can we do it? Is it okay? It's like
Yes.
very, it's okay. We're on the night sky, like we have like, yeah, we cannot see the skies, but we're outside, so it's actually quite nice. Let
Yes.
me see if I can get you a little bit up.
So, did I finish what I was saying? Oh yeah, so I just had to calm myself down and I got and I got back to center really quickly and the night was incredible. Like the class went so well. So that's like we just keep doing the work and we keep getting better at coming back to our hearts and remembering and um and something I wanted to say about your heart being blocked. If your heart
Mm,
is truly not blocked, if it is truly open, then you have full access to source energy. You have full
mm,
access to that energy that you are. And so if there's anything in your life that feels stuck, then it's a guarantee that you have a block to your heart somewhere. If there's anything in your life, like if you aren't able to quickly manifest and quickly jump timelines and if you don't have all of the love and support and stability that you want in your life, then for sure there's something blocking your heart.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah, yeah. That could be a conversation in itself. That's very
Yes.
interesting. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. The protected ones. Very real.
Yes. But we can shift that energy so quickly. It's just a matter of maintaining that energy as much as possible. And when you see that you are vibrating outside of the energy that you want to, just like at a totally different frequency, that's not necessarily a bad thing as long as you're conscious about it. So like when I started to have the panic attack, I was still observing myself. I wasn't believing the panic attack. I wasn't believing that these
Mm,
circumstances mean that I'm a piece of shit. I wasn't believing that anymore. I wasn't suddenly transported into reality where I didn't feel good about myself anymore. I had the consciousness and the awareness to say, okay, I'm here. I need to bring myself back to where I want to be. So those moments are always going to happen, but you just have to be conscious through those moments.
yeah, a lot to
And then if
process.
you can maintain that, then that's when the real change starts to happen.
I'm really just wishing for every single one of us and who's tuning into this to be our highest self and to open up our hearts to our truth and our highest potential.
Hmm.
Yeah, me
Yes.
too.
Yeah, and that's what your channel's all about. It's called Highest Self for a reason.
It's highest self for a reason. And we're still
Hmm.
on a journey, still on a journey. It's
Hmm.
very interesting. Maybe you're gonna end on this note. I find it quite interesting that we now ended on the conversation of the heart. Yesterday I've been traveling and I've seen three different couples. And there was this realization, and I guess this goes out to every single one of us who is single and who had been thinking they wanted to be in a relationship. It's so interesting when we start to become conscious of more of our own shadow and we start to to also become honest with ourselves. So for I would say about some months, I was like, I'm ready for the long-term relationship. Like I'm ready for this.
Hmm.
And then yesterday there was one couple. They were so adorable. Like they were genuinely loving and sweet and connected with each other.
Hmm.
And I looked at them realizing this kind of sounds so odd, but I was like, I don't want this because you know why? I would need to have an open heart. I was like, that is my shadow right in my face. I'm at least listening to it. It's that moment when you realize I haven't had that in such a long time. And I'm not associating it with safety actually, because when I see it, I think of I'm gonna lose it. So it's this very interesting moment of acknowledging when we actually are long-term single and we think we would like to have a relationship, well, there's something that we do want more, which is to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently being single is symbolizing more safety than being in a non-safe, non-loving relationship. So that was a very interesting moment. And where I also became aware of I felt literally how my heart was being closed. Like I felt it. I saw them. I started to feel the love they felt. Like it was so light. It was so bubbly. It was so adorable. They were just so genuinely. It was so adorable. And I was just like, no, I think I don't want to. I'm scared of this. That was quite interesting. So I had an interesting conversation with my higher self that day because I went to the bathroom. I was like, okay, higher self, I'm still committed to it. I want to show up in my highest timeline. So I'm willing to to be open to relationship if it's for my highest good and the highest good of all. And I'm willing to do all the work I need to do. But you know what? I actually don't need it. Like my ego now acknowledges that the ego didn't want it in the first place. So that was such an interesting revelation to just be like honest for a second, be like, yeah, that's actually where I stand today.
Uh-huh.
It's quite interesting. So it made me realize I really get to experience myself with an open heart for a very, like, in the first time for a very long time to come. You're gonna get to meet me with an open heart also for the first time because you've had a different version in front of you. And yeah, it just feels,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like, I literally feel how it is being cold and protected. I feel like literally it's being hard and cold. So this is
Mm-hmm.
actually something I also noticed throughout the meditation with Dr. Joe when it's about open up your heart and feel the love. And I literally struggled with the experience. I was like, there's not so much love coming out of that heart, I figure. And is there, I don't know.
Well, it's
I
all
need
the
to just
same
talk with it.
path.
If I'm
Like,
honest, I
go
guess
ahead.
it's as simple as to, if I'm really honest, I know what I need to do. I need to, like, if I want to open up my heart, I need to have a conversation with my heart and be like, hey, I'm going to dedicate 5 minutes a day to talk to you. And to be like, hey, heart, it's safe for you to be open. Tell me what you need. What is keeping you closed? And I think that's the true work because I know how to talk with spirit and consciousness. So it's about
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging, okay, I'm actually taking the courage to start this conversation and to start asking it, what do you need? How can
Mm-hmm.
I help you to release? Show me what I can do. Show me how what experience you're still holding on to. So I guess it really comes down to committing to a daily practice to speak with your heart for 5 minutes, being like, we're not going to rush this because I'm actually scared of what's going to happen, you being open, but I'm starting to have a conversation with you, my heart. And I'm starting, like, I trust that you can be open and it's safe for you to be open, but my mind and my ego just needs to catch up to this. And
Mm-hmm.
let us just bit by bit, day by day, speak with each other, acknowledge that we exist, acknowledge that my ego actually has closed you because the heart actually, I think the heart doesn't close itself. I think it's an illusion of the mind where we don't allow it to exist. So I think I'm going to put in my calendar 5 minutes in the morning and I'm going to do this for 21 days on a retention month at the moment. Like I'm having some personal experiments that I'm actually running. So let me
Mm-hmm.
get back to you regarding opening up the heart. And if I would need some kind of practice, could I just get back to you throughout these weeks? Be like, okay, any specific practice you can recommend me? Any specific mirror work? I have no idea. Um,
Yeah,
because I'm ready to
I've
start the
got something
journey.
really good that I was like the class that I taught last night that like this is the
Hmm.
main thing that I wanted to teach them is how to ask their heart a yes or no question. And so
Hmm.
to tune into the
Yeah.
heart and get the feeling of
Yeah.
what yes feels
You know
like.
what's so hilarious, my dear? What's so hilarious? Greg Braden shared this tip 3 days ago. I've been trying it and I was like, yeah, I get the logic. Let me share this on Instagram. But I'm like, I'm not really hearing that much actually.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So
where do
you
you
can
start when you can't hear it?
when your heart says yes, it's the feeling of being happy. And so what I told the girls that I was working with last night, I said, think of the happiest memory that you can think of, whether or the like if there's a hope that you think of that makes you feel really happy, whatever it is, get the happiest thought in your head that you possibly can. Then I asked them what it feels like in their body, and they were explaining, like all the feelings that they're having up here. And I said, that is your heart saying yes. That's what it feels like when your heart says yes. And then I said, now think about the worst thing that you can think about, your saddest moment, your most traumatic moment, whatever it is. And what does that feel like? And they all felt this downward tight feeling. And I said, that is your heart saying no. And then I had them look up text message conversations, and I said, find a text message conversation with someone that you feel really safe with, and that you love them and you have a good time with them, and see the feeling that it gives you in your body to look at that text conversation. And then I had them do the same thing with someone that they didn't trust and that they had bad feelings about. And so they were just getting familiar with the yes and the no, and then they transferred that to making decisions in their art. And because we were doing collage, and it's like, do I use this one or this one? Do I go with this color or this color? And they were just so chill. As soon as they started doing their art, it was just like no question in their mind about what they were going to do. They were just flowing. It was so cool. So yeah, that yes or no, that is something you can do all day. Do it before you have a cup of coffee, do it before you make a phone call, before you send an email, before you do anything, just see, how does my heart feel about this? And that's really been my most devout spiritual practice. I ask my heart yes or no all day. And that's why I quit my job. That's why that's why I started the YouTube channel. That's why I'm doing everything that I'm doing, even though it doesn't make sense, even though it doesn't seem practical. I'm just asking my heart day by day, like, what's next? What do I do? And then now I'm having just full on conversations with my heart all the time. Or it'll just give me like a little bit of a feeling that lets me know, like, yes, but not right now. It's like I'm so in tune with all the things that it's telling me. But you just ask it yes or no, and you'll get in tune with that so quick. And you'll recognize those feelings. It's feelings that you get all the time, but you don't know to listen to them.
By the way, one of the magic, like there were so many gems in the first is for anybody who might have been struggled, like asking my heart yes or no and couldn't hear it. Maybe you might have just realized you just received a no answer, because I realized you explaining the tightness versus the openness. I actually did receive an answer, but it was just my go-to feeling, which I was used to, which was like literally acting in the no of the heart. Like when you think you do not receive a message, it might be because you're so used to that feeling that it's your natural baseline. And in
Yeah.
that case, I realized, well, I might have been living in the no state, and it's my baseline that I think like I haven't been hearing anything, but it's literally the non-stop voice that I'm hearing all the time.
Yes.
That was a very interesting approach. The second thing is, thank you so much for what you do, that you invigorate, inspire, uplift, open up hearts, especially of young women. That's like so, so beautiful. And I'm so happy that your first ever class that you hosted in this format was so beautifully and well received and so high vibrational. You definitely should share more about this in a personal conversation, because I'm really happy for you, and the energy is really good when you talk about it. And the third aspect, I'm gonna boil it down. I feel like it is, you could create like a heart open challenge where you tell people who are part of your community, hey, sign up for this. Whether you say like you have like 5 minute practice where you speak with your heart, these questions, or say today is heart day. And before we do anything, we get into the habit just for one day to ask the heart first. Because this is what I'm going to do tomorrow. And I'm going to start tonight, not postponing, start in present moment. And I think I'm going to have incredible, like different results. So thank you so much for sharing this example. And yeah, I think a lot of us might have become aware of that. We are truly brain people. We're living in the brain. We're like, oh, it's so safe in the logic, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and
Wow.
there are all of these, like when you start getting in the habit of asking your heart,
Mm.
there are all of these subtleties,
I
and
need to
all of
apologize to my heart. Oh my goodness. I'm like so sorry that I didn't listen to it. It's been trying to speak. Ah.
but there are all of these subtleties, like there are things like your heart will say no to something, and it's actually your nervous system saying no, but it's
Mhm.
okay because your nervous system isn't ready for it yet.
Mhm.
Like your heart will really guide you to the next thing that you're ready for. It's not going to guide you
Mhm.
straight to full blown spiritual experience and oneness with
Mhm.
God. Because that's too fast, it's too much. But it will guide you slowly to incremental change, like that happens incrementally over time. And you can, and even like sometimes my heart will lead me into something that really doesn't work out, like it really doesn't work out. But
For
if I
example?
like, okay, this is one that confused me a lot for a
Mhm.
long time, and I really had to think about it. So I was asking, it was when my husband was still alive, and I was asking, what restaurant should we go to? Like, we decided we were going to get some food, and what
Okay.
restaurant should we go to? We agreed that we wanted Indian food. I looked up on my phone all the Indian foods that were close by. We didn't know anything about any of the restaurants. There were just some reviews, and I had a feeling. I was kind of like I was feeling a little fuzzy, and I was feeling a little bit stressed out, and I was hungry. But I focused enough to get a feeling about this one restaurant. And when we went there, it was bad on so many levels, like so many levels. It was so small. It didn't even look like a restaurant inside. It looked like an office that they just kind of like pulled up a portable, like a portable stove in the middle of it. And and there were like kids running around. It was obviously just like a husband and wife with some kids, and maybe there were some cousins, maybe a grandma in the back. And it took, we were starving, and it took like an hour for the food, and we were the only people there. And it was, we were just like in a bad mood, and we were so confused about how it was so bad, and then the food tasted awful. Like it tasted awful. so
That's actually
so
quite impressive. 1 hour to create that outcome. I'm sure they did give their best, and still it's very impressive.
so so I had to think about it for a while, but in if it was a more recent thing, I could probably tell you more about the reasons why I feel like I was led there. But I see how, because of the stress that I was having with my husband at the time, because the worries that I was having about money at the time, because of the self-doubt that I was carrying with myself at the time, like over myself at the time, I was led to something that was a vibrational match to everything that I was feeling in my life, but just a little bit higher. And it was a little bit higher because it made me aware of it. And it was like, it
Mm.
was my heart leading me to that experience that made me see, oh, I'm a vibrational match to this. I'm a vibrational match to struggling when you're self employed and barely getting by. I'm a vibrational match to not being prepared to meet my obligations when somebody comes to me. Like this is why, like this at the time, that's why I was afraid of going into business, because I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to follow through and that I would disappoint people. And so I saw a situation where these people were in business and they were totally disappointing us. It was like I was a vibrational match to that, but my heart led me to it so that I could see that I was a vibrational match to it. And those were the
Mhm.
things that I needed to work on. So, like I think that's a pretty good example of like
That's a,
your heart will not always lead you to success and happiness. It will lead you to the next thing so that your heart can open
Mhm.
more.
Thank you. That is actually a really good example. Thank you so much for that wisdom. Wow. Quinn, I think it been nearly 2 hours already on the episode.
Well, counting our meditation time, but yeah, it's been a
Still, yeah.
while. It's been a while. It is time. It is time to wrap it up.
What is, let's end with one question for you. Mm. What do you want to share with the audience coming from your heart in this present moment?
Well, I am such a teacher. I
Mm.
want to teach. I want to help people understand so much. I just have such a passion for it. And honestly, like for the past 30 minutes, there's been this little voice in the back of my head like, tell them about bringing your body back to you. So I wanted to say something else about bringing your body to you. When you so okay, so when you dissolve into the blackness in the,
Mm-hmm.
because he asks you to do that in every meditation. When you
Yes.
dissolve into the blackness, you can imagine that your body, like basically your physical body is blended with your energy field. Like it's all mixing together, you know? And then when you go into the blackness, you are
Mm-hmm.
expanding your energy across the entire universe, you know, because everything's connected. So you're expanding yourself to this like much bigger, much greater state. And when you call your body back to you, you are bringing your focus back into your avatar, your life as you know it. And it is really no different, like Dr. Joe says, than going from the toilet to the coffee maker. You're sitting there on the toilet doing one thing, and then you get up and you walk over to the coffee maker with the intention of having coffee. And you're not worried about whether or not your body is going to follow you there. Your body
Mm-hmm.
naturally follows you there because that's where your energy is and that's where your heart is. So when you are changing a place energetically, it's really no different than going from the toilet to the coffee maker, you know, and your body's going to follow you. So it's the same thing with changing boxes. You change your energy, and your body naturally goes to where your energy has decided to be.
Mm. And when I have allowed my heart to open, my body will automatically come to the next level where my heart is open and is like, yes, you deserve to have this experience.
Yes, and your body will respond in the most beautiful way. It will become healthier. It will become happier. It'll
I'm
be
already so grateful for this conversation, Queen. I actually do know that my heart will open like from this point going onward, thanks to our conversation. Like, really, thank you so much that we brought this present awareness to my heart and that I can now start to reconnect and start to live as me with an open heart and start to take one step at a time. I know theoretically we could rush things, but I think it's very important to be gentle when we need it. So just thank you that we had this conversation. And I really hope, and I'm sure that there were so many gems and value for people who listened. And thank you for you being you. And thank you for sharing what you just shared today. And thank you for your sincerity in sharing and being the embodiment with the highs and the lows, just in its full authenticity. So thank you so much for being here, Queen.
It is my pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. I love having you to talk to. I love your questions. I love your reflections. So fun.
My pleasure. Absolutely. Thank you so much. All my love to everybody who's watching, who's been here. All love and blessings to you as well. Thank you.